And welcome back to the Cocoa Digest Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, this is the Cocoa Digest Morning Show, and we're about to have our online news review. Don't forget to send in your comments as we are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. And of course, our WhatsApp number is also going to be displayed on your screen as well. So I have here with me two of my co-hosts, Miriam Abnadede and Nanayao Asari, who's the host for the sports segment. And of course, as you know already, Mimi is the host for the lifestyle segment. So as for Mimi, I know how she's doing. Yes. How are you doing, Nanayao?
Very well, very well.
We've entered a new month. What are your hopes, aspirations?
Yes, as always, we are up and we are grateful. So all thanks be to God. And yeah, it's a new month. So right now, if you have like wish lists and all those things, if you don't take time, it will fire your eyes stop. So what we are doing is we are taking it one step at a time, and then we are making use of every advantage or opportunity that comes to us. And yeah, inshallah.
All right. So we have a few comments already. So ArcGH says good morning. HM Joe says good morning. Good Cocoa Digest morning team. Hey, it's not small flags. And then Stage Africa also says good morning, Clog TV. Quite an interesting quote. Thank you so much. Yes, keep your comments coming in. Share your thoughts with us, and we will read them out loud. So as always, trending news. What has been trending over the weekend? You know, you've had trends since Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Today is Tuesday. So there should be a lot of interesting things out in the streets. So what's up?
Talking about streets.
This one I passed.
Talking about streets. Well, the streets of Equatorial Guinea are in sort of disarray, if I can actually say it that way.
Okay. Why is that?
One particular man has been seen to have he's been sleeping and recording women in very high positions, including his younger brother's wife. So a lot of things, including the Attorney General's wife as well. Yeah. So the man looks like he's a very sharp shooter, but 400 sex tapes that he's recorded, and most of them are consented to it. And it's very serious. So the fear women thing has been trending very much. Fear women.
Why is it fear women? Isn't it one man that
There was one man, different, plenty women.
And these women are wives. They are married.
Is
women.
he not a husband as
He
well?
is
So
also.
why are we fearing? We have to fear everybody then.
No, we are fearing a man, but we know that it's women, so fear women.
I know that there was some sort of investigation about behind this. If you can shed some light on that, so we take the attention of.
So, to date, we haven't really gotten the reason behind his filming and his actions, but they said investigations are ongoing. But unfortunately, this morning, we realized that one of the women had committed suicide. And after seeing the videos online, she just had to end her life, which is so unfortunate.
So was there any news as to how these videos came to public lights then?
Well, some people are saying that it was being used to blackmail him to perpetrate certain acts against the government of Equatorial Guinea, considering the position that he holds in the country. Others are also saying that it was by mistake, and one of his friends also wanted to get some money from him, but he refused, and then he was threatened, and it's been out. So there are kind of different conspiracies against this particular story as to how it came out and all that. But I think there's a lesson to be learned in this particular thing, that you just have to keep your private life private in as much as possible. I don't understand why people record these things. To what extent do they want to actually enjoy these particular videos? And there is always the likelihood of it coming in the public light.
Of course.
And for him to actually have over 400 or that means it's his habit, and that's what he actually does. And for him to be able to lure women in these positions to actually do that, it's very, very serious.
Well, I'm also looking at the psychological aspects of this. I don't know, but I feel no man in his right senses would indulge in such an act. I don't know, but personally, I feel psychologically he needs, medical attention, because I don't know why you would do something like this and film it. Over 400 tapes.
Well, there are conspiracies about the husbands of these women that maybe it is also a means to settle certain things. So maybe he's blackmailing their husbands, or their husbands are supposed to pay for something, and then since maybe they are not able to, they. But then, one of the other lessons to learn from this is that the internet never forgets. The internet is forever,
definitely.
and we should not be consumed by the single desire for pleasure to take certain decisions that can gravely affect us. Because there were photos of his wife and his children, very beautiful family, and they are going to have to live with this on them for the rest of their lives. These kids are really little, and the internet never forgets. They will, even if he's able to pay off people to get rid of these videos, there is always going to be a pornographic site that has these videos, and one way or the other, these kids are going to be going through life where their mates are going to draw attention to the fact that this is what their father engaged in. And it also brings my mind back to our anti-LGBT gay, the family values bill, that yes, a lot of attention is being given to the same-sex relationships and activities, but what about the heterosexual relationships? This is an act between man and woman. Under normal circumstances, it's deemed natural. But then, look at the circumstances under which these things are happening, and what about the effect on the viewers, the children, the society as well?
Well, when it comes to that particular one, in the light of the LGBTQ plus laws and all that, so it's very, very interesting when you are trying to actually manage and pick out these ones. Which one is a crime? Which one is not a crime? Because once it is consensual and it's heterosexual, then I think it's not a crime. But then
I'm not even speaking in the sense of the crime, but rather exposure of our younger ones to these things. It is just like exposure to pornography. This is basically the same thing, but it is just an esteemed person in society doing something like this. What about the younger ones watching, or who get access to these things? What effect is it going to have? So attention should be drawn to activities of even that as well, that we need to try and shield our youth from things like this also.
That is very true, but there's as much as the government can do, and then sometimes it trickles down to the family values and family system. The fact that you have to censor what your kids watch, you'd have to censor, because once it is out, it is out. So you have to find a way to protect your family from actually getting exposed to these particular things. And a lot of parents these days are not necessarily paying attention to what their kids are doing. And some of them also do not have knowledge on how to censor their kids' phones and all that, you know. And now you realize that almost every kid, I have some nephews at home, and they'll come and play with your phone, your tablets, watching Baby Shark and all those things on YouTube. Now, what is actually dangerous is these sponsored ads. Before you realize, you are playing something, and then it just pops up on your screen and all that. So it's very dicey in trying to tackle this thing.
Before we switch up as well, I also want to put this out there that it is a crime to leak such videos. Revenge, I think it's deemed as revenge porn sometimes. So when you and your partner decide to have fun and record yourselves and things go sour, leaking such videos is punishable by law. So please let us be careful out there and desist from taking certain decisions that will ruin our lives. We have free will, all right, but let us wise up a little. So, yes, switching to another trending story.
Okay, Yaira, our very own clock sack. You remember, I think somewhere last month, they gave government an ultimatum that if they don't respond to their grievances, which is, I mean, the salary issues, they are going to embark on a strike. I think they have released a press statement, that was yesterday, later in the day, and they said they are going on a strike starting just this Thursday, 7th November 2024. And so it's a nationwide strike.
Okay, so can you refresh our memories as to why this strike is about to be embarked on?
Well, Yara, if I may, there's this on just last week Thursday. There was an Resetting Ghana Agenda program that was held at the NEDCo, and then the keynote speaker was John Dramani Mahama. And then one of the questions that he was asked by the Executive Secretary of CLOCSAG, that's Dr. Isaac Bampoado, was that what are his plans in place to make sure that the conditions of service and the scheme of service for the civil and local government staff actually improved. And this is sort of towing the same line that the strike is being embarked on. He made a statement, I think this particular statement, that's a phrase, I mean, equal work for equal pay. So it's been seen as though the civil service staff are being underpaid or sort of underlooked at when it comes to their salary and their salary structure. When you compare that to other public servants or other public service staff, I should say, you realize that the balance isn't really up there. When people are employed out of the civil service and go into agencies of the civil service or agencies of the ministries, you realize that the pay over there, the pay grade over there is quite higher than the pay grade in the civil service, and it's sort of discriminatory. So you realize that people in the civil service sometimes may tend or may have the tendency not to actually put out their best, or maybe may tend to actually do other businesses on the side and stifle the growth of the Ghana civil service. So these are things that we have to actually look at and make sure that they are satisfied. So if it's sort of the priority levels has now become a chicken and egg situation. Which one comes first? Which one do we prioritize first? But I feel the statements or the phrase that he made, equal work for equal pay, if it is tackled properly, then I think we'll be having some headway in this particular one.
And it's even argued that the agencies, basically, we're all doing the same work. The civil service, all the other services, they're doing the same work. And so it begs the question as to why some services are paid more than the other. And of course, it will beg that question because you are doing as much work as I am doing. We are on the same grade or level, you know, qualification-wise. Yes. So why do you get to earn more than I do when I'm probably even doing more than you are, you know, in your services? So, I mean, if our government is able to check this issue and, of course, uphold equity and equality, we will move forward. So if the strike is to get our government to, you know, get on their feet and or on their toes to do something about this, then of course we will fully support it.
Okay.
You know, I think last week we spoke about UTAG's
calling of their strike,
and they saying they reconsidered their decisions and other things, and we even said, why did they embark on the strike at the beginning? Didn't they consider all these things? Now I'm looking at the consequences of this strike on all of us. We know the number that constitutes, you know, the CLOCSAG members that constitute our country. If they are all embarking on a strike, looking at the economic impact, disruptions of, you know, government businesses here and there.
Well, I think that's the idea. That when they realize that things are going to go haywire,
UTAG had.
Yes, but UTAG's strike was mostly in consideration of the students because they are innocent. But because here's the case, they threatened a strike somewhere in June. And, you know, they were promised that some measures will be taken, some things will be put in place by October 31st. And October 31st came and went, and we did not hear anything. So it is warranted to have our people agitated that, no, why are we doing the same work and we are getting paid less? Are we not also even the backbone of our government?
Well, that brings to what I wanted to say. You know, the one astute civil service staff, that is Nathan Anankwao, he actually has been emphasizing on this, and CLOCSAG has been pushing this. He says that it is the perfection of the Ghana civil service that will move Ghana forward, and not the politicians. So this comes to bear when besides Parliament and the politicians formulating laws and order, the only institution that can actually formulate policies and procedures and processes for Ghana's government is the civil service.
Yes, we are the machinery.
So when you are not actually taking into consideration that they are the ones formulating the policies to be implemented by these agencies, then you are sort of downplaying their importance in the country. When you sort of look at the pay that they receive, for instance, a foreman in the Ghana Civil Service and then a foreman in maybe another public service that I wouldn't want to like mention a name, you see that there will be disparity in pay, but then they are still doing the same work. So it begs to say a chief director in the Ghana Civil Service, a chief director in another public service, which I don't want to mention the name as well, you would see that there are quite some disparities in pay. And it begs to say, some people say because of the numerical size of the Ghana Civil Service staff, but it doesn't matter. We brought single spine, and then it came to solve the issue to some extent. But right now, a lot of people are saying the spine is broken and has to be seen again. So the whole thing is sort of, they're fighting for, as Dr. Bambo Aido mentioned or summarized, equal work for equal pay. So if a chief director at the Ghana Civil Service is earning, say, 5,000 cedis, then the chief director in a public service who is implementing the policies that the Ghana Civil Service chief director has sort of formulated should also sort of be getting the same. So that's what they are actually advocating for.
If the other public services that are earning more are told that, okay, one of the ways to mitigate this issue is probably to reduce your salaries by a percentage so that those monies can be transferred to the civil service so we can all be on the same level, there's going to be some sort of...
It's going to be a serious labor war.
Because they have accustomed their lives around that. So it's either...
So you know that even if you are paid even if you are paid by government for, let's say, this particular year, your basic salary is, say, 7,000 cedis, and you are paid by the Ghana Civil Service like that. So the following year, labor laws say that the government cannot put you in a position less than where you are, and not only in the Ghana Civil Service. So it has to. You cannot take somebody's own and come and offset, because I've calculated how many children I'm going to have based on this, the type of schools my children are going to, and all that. So it's a very dicey situation. So reducing salaries of other people and bringing it to the civil service.
I was just saying that it is not even viable to start
No, at all.
Because if the government complains that there's no money to increase your salaries, somebody might suggest that, and it is also not viable. And there are institutions where the workers there are paid some amounts of money that, if we are being honest, or some allowances and benefits.
I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm just hearing you shouting National Cathedral, National Cathedral Director, National. Even with
the National Cathedral, people are not working. They don't have, but they are being paid. These people are not working. So what about the ones that are
probably earning more than civil service directors and all that? So the Sikane dia wo, but appropriating it has always been the issue.
Anyway, let's go to our newspaper parades.
Before we actually go there are sort of trending news that let me mention one of them. Our future president, that is Alan Tremanting, has actually come out to say that he is going to make sure that the Ghana cedi, the exchange rate, is brought almost apart to the dollar. Right now it's 1 to 17, and he is saying that he has measures in place to make sure that it comes to one Ghana cedi is equal to five Ghana cedis is equal to $1. And he says that he's been a part of economies that have actually worked like that and performed very well. Case in point, he was given some sort of ceremonial role, not ceremonial, but he was actually working in Tanzania some years back, and he did quite a very good job in that particular sense. He said this at his just ended walk this Saturday. He had a walk from Circle, went through some environs in Adabraka and all that, and then he had like this particular quite some following. He had this statement out that the problems of Ghana can be seen in 4 different angles. If I clearly remember, he mentioned Galamsey as one, he mentioned corruption as one, he mentioned unemployment, and then the ailing economy. I think these are the 4 things that he actually mentioned, and these are areas that you may think that, when they are addressed, truly, Alan Tremantin's government can actually move Ghana forward. But anyway, it's a campaign.
No, please, we are not here to campaign for
at all.
But isn't Tanzania the country that has the trillion something note
that's
or
Zimbabwe.
Something? Zimbabwe,
Yes,
rather. Oh,
yes,
okay.
That's
okay,
Zimbabwe.
My fight. But if Alan Tremantin truly can implement something like this, I believe that Ghana adopting a sort of coalition government would also help, because all these people standing for presidency and having all these ideas, if they are brought together, you know, if fine, one particular party will definitely win. And they win. They employ these people's ideas, put it together, putting Ghana first. If Alan's plans are viable, they are realistic, feasible, it can be employed, and then, of course, at the end of the day, no matter who gets the credit, we too, our economy will
be better.
Unfortunately, we are Ghanaians.
Yes, wishful thinking.
Yeah, Mimi, aren't you? Well, I'm not being political, but
if you are political, I'll sack you.
it is the thoughts of some Ghanaians that we are all tired of the duopoly, because NDC, NPP, it comes Republicans, Democrats when they come, and we want someone more radical, someone that is not like a trained politician.
We don't have a radical person yet. Nkrumah's type has not been born, so let's calm down.
It remains to be seen.
So still on the political front. Remember, EC gave our very own Ekradonko's party, the Freedom Party, to give us
10 days.
They gave them 10 days to
yes.
bring out their presidential aspirants to be put on the ballot paper.
Yeah.
Fortunately, her running mate, Roman Father, has been selected.
Wow. So Roman Father is now number 3.
Line, yeah.
Do you? Well, let me tell you this. Do we have some of their policies on?
Well,
what are some of the policies of Ekradonko?
One policy I know is for the is for women.
Yeah.
So she wanted to support a lot of women with some money or capital to start up businesses, and also help those that have taken loans to pay off their loans. So that was one of the policies Ekradonko.
Well, I think that is delving deeper.
My question is about even the ballot sheet. Does that mean that all the sheets that were already printed with her face on it will be trashed? Or because if it is, you know how Ghana is. One way or another, those sheets will find their way into our ballot sheet. So I think they should actually just maintain it, continue the printing, finish up, because we are in the month of November. Today is 5th, right?
Yes.
So by 7th, we are just exactly a month away from elections.
Yes.
So
it is no use to reprint. Should remain. I mean,
well, that is one way to save government some money.
To be a way to save money and paper.
Then the credibility of the elections will also be at stake.
But then also we are aware that she was vying for presidency, and then she died. But her running mate is the one who is going to take her place. So her face being on it.
So the running mate's face should also be on the ballot paper.
But so honestly speaking, though, I didn't know her running mates, because I don't particularly follow these things.
We'll forgive you.
I'm
our future president.
So I didn't even know that Roman Father was. I don't even know who he is.
With us in the creative industry.
Okay, I would not even be able to identify him. I know my boss.
And that is why a lot of people are saying that he's so fortunate. He never imagined that he would find himself
on the ballot sheet.
Seriously.
But that is where we find ourselves now. And Yara, the reason why I think we should actually keep the papers changed is that when it comes to these elections, and a lot of people have actually blown alarms that they've seen people printing ballot papers and all that in certain places and all that. And I think this has become like some sort of blessing in disguise. So perpetrators of that kind of evil, knowing the sequence, especially after the number or the order was actually given out, knowing the sequence and all that, perpetrators of something like that, people printing ballot papers and all that, now they have to incur extra costs. So I mean, it's actually has its downside and the good side. But to maintain the credibility of the elections, I think everyone, and also imagine
enough time to print the number of ballot sheets we need, and then also the cost involved.
For that,
Redoing.
so immediately it happened. We realized that Ms. Jane Mensah, the EC chair, actually made a statement, a public statement that they are halting the printing of all papers until this particular one, and it's constitutional. When you look at CI 122 in the sort of in the constitution, or when it comes to elections, it's actually outlines all these particular ones, CI 121 and then CI 122. It outlines the steps to be taken if someone dies, let's say more than 10 days to election and all that. We are very fortunate that it didn't affect the election date, because had it been closer to the day of election, it would have been actually the whole election would have been postponed. And this also, it's a test of Ghana's democracy. Our democracy has been stretched to limits. We've seen election petitions. We've seen, and it's a very good symbol of our democracy. And this particular one, people advocating for not the ballot papers not being printed again. Imagine if we were to be one of the popular, how do you call it, parties. It would have been a brouhaha. But let's also maintain that kind of integrity, because filing nomination and all that
should not be put on the ballot.
Well, regardless, if they're going to start printing new sheets, they should make sure that they are done in time for elections, so that polling stations don't have the issue of ballot sheets are not enough. And then also, if they are going to, trash the other ones, there should be some sort of public knowledge about it, where we will not go to some polling station and then if you don't cause faces. So now, because that will
I think you are perfectly right.
And I think on this note, we should also notify our viewers of Poll Watch, which Clock TV will be bringing to them live. We'll be giving you a live coverage of the 2024 general elections here on Clock TV. Your very own presenters, we are ready and geared up for this election.
Right.
What was that face for?
I was off camera, please. So yes, your newspaper, but at this point the time is even up.
Yeah, so let's go straight into the online news.
So the online news here, so this one says, it's an acronym. I'm calling ASEPA. ASEPA demands release of 2015 Central Medical Stores Fire Report. And this is the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA, is expressing concern over the prolonged delay by the Economic and Organized Crime Office, that's EOCO, in publishing its findings regarding the 2015 fire that severely damaged the Central Medical Stores in Tema. This fire resulted in the loss of medical supplies worth $80 million and is widely believed to have been caused by arson. So if we don't know what arson is, that is when someone decides to deliberate attempt to set a place ablaze. And nearly 9 years later, however, no one has been prosecuted or held accountable despite EOCO's investigation being completed. And in response, ASEPA's executive director, Mensah Thompson, has called on EOCO to release the investigation report and take swift action to arrest and prosecute those involved. So there's a quote here. We demand the immediate release of the 2015 Central Medical Stores fire investigation and other related corruption investigations of EOCO in the Central Stores fire, and we shall be filing an RTI request to demand the immediate release of the report to the public. We also demand the immediate arrest of all persons indicted in the fire, including Romeo Caleb Kofi Tete. Again, we shall be filing a petition with the office of the Special Prosecutor to commence investigation and prosecution into this matter. We are also demanding the Ministry of Health to release the Sputnik 5 investigation report. So yes, the vaccine issue as well.
So they are hitting
9 years and yet no information.
So Yara, 9 years, nothing has come to bear. And you mentioned that they said they were going to invoke the RTI, that's the Right to Information bill. So that was that we've been talking about. And well, let me start by sort of laying some foundation straight. ASEPA, that's the body, and then their director, that's Mensa Thompson, doing very, very good work when it comes to public accountability and when it comes to government policy. Some people may think that it's a pressure group from the NDC on MPP, but when you check the date, it's way back 2015. That was when NDC was in power, and the person that they want to actually get or persecute includes Romeo Kaleptete, who is the former director of procurement for the Central Medical Stores.
Isn't he the one that has become a chief somewhere?
Yes, he's a chief. He's a chief now in Yellow Krobo. Yes. So now we have to just set the fact straight that it's not like a pressure group or a political thing, because recently when the Japa deal was also being discussed, he came out to educate the public again. That's Thomas Mensah, the director for ASEPA. He came out and then he came to sort of do some sort of public education on that particular one. That was even 2 years ago. So they've been actually advocating for public accountability and then transparency. Yes, if I can put it that way.
And you know, in the fire, they said some donations made by the US and UK.
I was coming to that.
So it is also going to, if the information is not released, it may also stifle some sort of trust or even break the trust.
So yeah, even after that, you know, you realize that there were some sort of HIV medications that have been highly subsidized for our government, and now those subsidies, it's not as easy as we get to come by in all that time. Now, $80 million is the worth of the medication that was in the Central Medical Stores at Tema. And when you convert that to Ghana cedis, there is over 273 million Ghana cedis, which is quite a lot of money.
Quite an amount of money.
So,
the civil service salaries, okay.
And then now, when you look at that's even the cost implication. When you look at the direct bearing on investor confidence, on donor confidence and
even consumers.
Exactly. So why has EOCO refused to release the investigation report?
Well,
or why have they actually slept?
Refused. Let's use delayed, because you see sometimes these words contextually may flip whatever you are trying to say.
No, Yaira, but ideally,
has the request been made over
the request has been made. Yaira,
it's been made.
If it is your job, and then you are the Economic and Organized Crime Office, and it has been placed on your table that 9 years ago you are supposed to investigate this particular thing. Even if you've not come out with concrete findings, you have to just come out and make statements on them that you haven't concluded your findings yet. And when you do, you prosecute all those who are sort of indicted or involved in this particular one. If someone may have taken some monies out of it, 9 years worth of investments of maybe $80 million. Yes, exactly.
By the time you catch him,
the person can actually say, most of $80 million. And the person may actually be able to pay off because it has reaped some returns for the person. But when it comes to the cause of fire, because the Central Medical Stores, it's a highly protected place, and I wish we had pictures of the place. When you see that there are measures in place to ensure that these fires are prevented, there are automatic sprinklers and all that in the Central Medical Stores.
That is why it's suspected to be
arson.
An act of arson. Yes.
So even with coming from the public interest aspect, people have this perception that anytime someone is being
investigated. We saw GRA at Circle.
Bank of Ghana.
Exactly.
So is it something that they always do to cover up for their...
Well, even our case is better than Nigeria, where snake swallows money and all those things. But then again, we have to come put things in our particular context. It's becoming a habit.
Yes.
And people are getting away with it. So they sort of believe that they can actually go on and on and on and on. So we have to actually pay particularly close attention to this trend. If we say that Yaira, say your organization is about to be audited or investigated in two weeks' time, 3 days. 3 days, we see that
the places of fire.
Hell will break loose, literally speaking, in your office.
Satan came to visit.
So it is something that we have to pay particularly close attention to. And I would have to also commend ASEPA and their director, Mr. Mensah Thompson, for the good work they are doing. So, Director of Procurement for CMS, former Director of Procurement for CMS, that's Central Medical Stores, Romeo Kaleptete, she should also assist them with whatever need that they want for the investigation to be fruitful.
But can't they employ like a different investigator?
That is it. But EOCO is, they are being paid to actually carry out this particular thing. And nothing is being said. I'm choosing my words very carefully because I don't want to be picked up after the studio over here. So it becomes very, very emotional when you realize that some of these things are there, and then there's you are sort of powerless when it comes to these things. All you can do is to talk about it, and our job as a media is to also make sure that it comes to light, and then we fight against these things. But
talking of the HIV subsidies here and there, these would have, helped those patients cure their illnesses and other things.
Okay, so let's take a few comments, then we go to the last story.
Yeah.
So HM Joe says, "Hey, Solomon of our time, #good." You behave yourself. Big family audience says, "Please, how old are you? And are you single? The gentleman in suits, please. I'm asking for my niece. You have admirers, right? And anyway, good morning, Coco Digest morning show team. Good morning to you too. This is from Big Family Audience. So see me, I'll do you link." Then ABK TV Ghana says, "Good morning, team of winners. I'm watching you live from Koforidia." Then HM Joe says, "From your quotes this morning, this guy is not a leader at all." Hey, you people.
Who is in the leader?
I think the King Solomon of our time.
Oh, okay.
How can he misuse his power and authority like that?
Did he misuse his power?
He did.
Did he misuse his power?
Even this comment applies to a number of leaders.
Hey, Yaira. Be careful of the table you're shaking.
So HM Joe again says, "This salary structure of the civil service staff, indefinite strike is the best option." Hey.
Well, I think
controller not to pay us. We are finished though, please.
I think
that happened with CTAG as well, when their salaries were withheld.
Well, that one, it was deemed as though their strike was being unconstitutional or unlawful because they didn't take the right due process.
We too, if we decide
Collectag has actually done.
They will tell us it's unconstitutional, and then by the time I realize we are going hungry. So yes, the next story here says, Interior Minister assures AU Commission of a free, fair, transparent and peaceful electoral process. So the Minister for the Interior, Harry Quartey, welcomed the African Union Commission's pre-election assessment mission to Ghana at his office in Accra, led by Honorable Lady Justice Ife Owo, retired. The chair of the panel of the wise, the delegation is in the country to evaluate Ghana's preparedness for the upcoming general elections on December 7, 2024. Now, Mr. Quartey assured the team of Ghana's preparedness, emphasizing the government's commitment to facilitating a free, fair, transparent, and peaceful electoral process. He highlighted the significance of international cooperation in fostering democracy and stability across Africa, expressing gratitude for the AUC's support and expertise. Now, Honorable Lady Justice Ife Owo, retired, the chair of the panel of the wise, expressed her approval of Ghana's preparations, mentioning that the mission will continue to engage with key stakeholders to evaluate the electoral readiness. Nice. Are we sure we are ready?
Oh, we are.
Look at our parliament.
Yeah, okay, well, it's me.
Don't you people.
Yes, who cry, Bejo. Everything was.
I mean, but well, we have to pay particularly close attention to the happenings. Looking at trends in countries that have actually encountered civil unrest when it comes to elections. Now, we saw in Rwanda, we saw the civil conflict that was going on, which affected their peace and stability in the country and all that. We are taking things a lot lightly. When you look at the sort of arms on the streets, we saw Adabraka just this particular Saturday. Look at the arms that were being used to rob. and these people are in society. Look at what is happening in Boku, where at least 16 people were feared dead. Arms on display. Just less than 35 days to election. So if we do not sort of weigh these things, we'll be taking a lot of things for granted. And I don't want to make any profound statements once again, but these are things that we were expecting, that the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, that's the president of the nation, the civil unrest that is happening in Boku, at least a statement would have come from you to assure some sort of peace and stability, but nothing so far. We were also expecting that the IGP and the likes would also make, but nothing so far. And we are less than 2 months to election, less than 40 days to election.
We are basicly
32 days.
1 month and 2 days. 32
days to elections. And then we are experiencing these things. If there's a prevalence of this, that would show that there are a lot of arms that are not sort of registered on our streets. And when these things happen, it causes a lot of civil unrest.
How do these arms even get into the hands of these people? That's the first question we should
exactly
ask.
So are there some political motivations behind all these things to make sure? These are questions that should be coming into the mind of our security personnel. Why is someone holding an AK-47 or a revolver or a military grade weapon in this particular part of the country?
Where do they get them from?
Where do they get them from and all that?
But you've heard of black market.
Well,
you can get anything you want in this country here. I hope we are.
But the prevalence of weapons in the black market in Ghana, like that, was not on the rise. Like look at the number of people that passed on in Boku, and look at the kind of sophisticated weapons that they were using. Initially, it used to be those hunting guns and all that, but right now, when you check the kind of weapons that they are using, these are high-grade military weapons.
But we've heard of the prevalence of terrorism as well, and there are conspiracy theories that some of these terrorist groups are even funded by some very, very top institutions or even countries, so to speak. So definitely, it's starting from somewhere. It's coming from somewhere. These arms are being supplied. Even with the incidents of proxy wars, where, let's say, Ghana was colonized by Britain. The last country to leave was, and then let's say Togo, France, right? So now France is fighting with UK or something, and then the war is based here, Ghana and Togo. They will supply us. And when we finish, we will keep it.
But Yara, this is not a situation on ground at the moment when it comes to Ghana. So the issue now is, how are these weapons passing through our airports, passing through our borders,
are traveling
immigration
through, so even with the what's the word? Hey, when the countries were divided, hey, my history, wow. Anyway, you see, we have like the border at Aflao, but we can't for sure say that from Aflao all the way to the top, it's a border, a set of borders. People are just easily going through. So when you realize that, okay, I can get into Ghana through maybe Yendi, I'll pass there. It's also possible that way. And then also there are rumors that even some of these African countries, even Ghana, I think if the president came to make a statement that it's not true, that we are also harboring terrorists here and there in the country, like these Al-Shabaab, Al-Qaeda.
Ghana is a very cosmopolitan country, so we may find different characters, but it depends on their modus operandi. Because in a country like Ghana, when you actually come and do some of these things, immediately you'll be fished out or you'll be caught out. So some of these organizations actually know that, well, we can go and hide in Ghana, but we cannot operate in Ghana.
So in that hiding, if they are doing some sort of recruitment, they are doing it very in a demure way, sort of arming these people with these weapons and things, brainwashing them quietly. So it could also be that this is happening, even though they are not going to operate here, they can come and recruit people to go with them. So there are so many different ways these weapons get in here. So
the assurance from the Ministry of the Interior That's as people popularly call him, the Accra Commando. That's Henry Cote, a very fine gentleman by all standards. So we have to now think about just a statement of assurance, going beyond the statement of assurance to now going to statement of intent. Statement of intent in sort of seeing that these crimes or the prevalence of these crimes and all that are being sort of downplayed. Sort of we are supposed to see more affirmative action in terms of shutting down wars and all those things, and not just talking about them and because once an issue like that comes, and then someone in a high position, like say the president, comes to mention something that okay, we are sending security personnel to make sure that all these things are alleviated and all that, then you can get some assuredness of sort of peace during this particular time and
I mean,
the election.
The commission even coming, I'm sure they just came for, these sorts of documentation things. They didn't go to the grounds or get some reports from the various areas. So, because I was surprised to read this, the things we are talking about here are clear indications that we are not particularly ready for elections, even with our parliament.
I would say that we are ready for the elections.
We are not ready.
These are areas that we have to sort of make sure that we have like a full closure on. And close all these things. But talking about our general readiness for the election, I think this is not the first time. And our democracy, and if there's going to be any unrest,
falling apart.
If there's any unrest, then it is going to stem from we the citizens. And Yaira, you and I, we know that you didn't want a curfew so that you not go and buy your wachi in the morning. You would rather choose queuing for a wachi with a person from a different political party than you being at loggerheads or fighting. So
the people in Baku do not have that luxury.
Yeah, but I also think the minister should not just focus on international bodies, but look at our local bodies as well. CSOs, political parties, especially political parties. They really need to be, talked to, spoken to, advised, like anything.
The talking is too much.
So that they talk to their members, because it is these same people that are, planning to cause the unrest.
Well, this brings us to the end of the online news review. Yes, so soon. I don't want my producer to go for my head. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sending in your comments as well. Next is the lifestyle segment with Miriam Abnadidi and her guest. She's going to be helping to educate us on everything we need to know to stay healthy, as cholera seems to be on the rise here in Ghana.
The death toll is now 54.
So yes, 54 fatalities already. So of course, call a friend, call your brother, call your sister, and tune in to Talk TV on Facebook, YouTube, or on your TV, and come and learn something. We will be right back.